Well done, buddy. So in an effort not to have a service like I did last week, I checked my zipper and it was wide open, sitting back there. Yeah, well, so that's fixed, so we won't be doing that. Yeah, way to just hit it off right from the get-go, right? So got a couple of stories for you. This new shirt, I bought this new shirt. Thank you. Well, thank you. It's a funny story. So the guy, thank you, I'll take that. And then there's a little insignia on there. And I guess I ticked the guy off. I went with my wife, and my wife's like, I said, I need some new shirt for work. And I looked at the insignia, and I went, Janine, that's my wife, by the way, Janine. I said, that looks like Winnie the Pooh. And there was this little guy that was so bent out of shape. He had this little penciled-in mustache, and he had these little black shoes on. And he comes up to me, he goes, and clips his feet together like what you see in the war movies, right? Jawohl. That's exactly what he looked. That's exactly what he looked like. And his hair was all perfect. And he goes, I'll have you know, that insignia or that little monogram's been there since 1880. And I'm like, I look at my wife, and she's like, just don't. And so I'm like, okay. I said, well, that's very impressive. But I said, it still looks like Winnie the Pooh. And he was like, oh, he was bent out of shape. And he just booked it. He was gone. He was done with me. I was not in his world of accepting shirts. But I like it. And so apparently, this is the other thing about the shirt that I didn't know. Apparently, and this is what this lady was telling me. She's an older lady. She goes, this is what all the kids are wearing. They're Friday shirts. That's what she said. That's what all the kids are wearing. And I'm like, what? What do you mean a Friday shirt? You don't tuck them in. And, well, I don't know why I'm doing this. This too, to the side, right? There's no front or back. It's just you don't tuck them in. And you can wear them wrinkled. I'm like, well, I don't wear them wrinkled. And I try to tuck it in, and it falls out. So there's your big story on my Friday shirt. And this little man, he was so mad. He stormed all around. He wouldn't even side-eye my wife and I. He's looking around. And you bought, like, what did we buy? I think you bought, like, 3 shirts and a sweater. And I'm like, you're a pimp. I almost said it. But I was not, like, the guy's in customer service. But I thought it was very funny. And my wife's like, oh. I got compliments for holding my tongue. And on to something good, something fantastic has happened. If you guys remember, I was talking about my friend Jeremiah. He had gone through Hilland. He lives up in Prince George. And if he's watching, hey, buddy, he's going into recovery. He's going into recovery. And I was talking to him today, and he wants to take a welding program. And he's not coming down here. He's Indigenous, so he's staying up there, and he's going to do it with his family or with his group, I guess. I'm not exactly sure, but he's going. He says they have 3, 6, 8, and 12-month programs, and then when he's done, he can go and get trades training. So I'm pretty excited for my buddy, and I told him I'd send him a care package. So, yeah. So I'm super excited about that, and yeah, because that was a big thing. He's a young man, and he spent a good portion of his time drinking and fighting other things too, not just people. So I pray for his success. So if you got it up there, we're going to read out of the second book of second book. Yeah, second book of Matthew. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, guys, go look for it if you can find it. But yeah, so I'm going to read through it, but I'll just read through it first. Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea. Oh, and I'm going to tell you something. I don't know. Before I start, when I was a kid in school, I hated reading with a passion because I have dyslexia. And my letters, my B's are D's, and my 3's are 4's, and I remember as a kid working at a gas station, I charged a lady, it was $124 for gas when it was only like $1, it was $2.40. And she was like, she's like, listen, wingnut. She says, she was, yeah, so I just hated reading, and I had to take a piece of paper or something and grow down each line because I would get overwhelmed at all the words. And I just want to thank Jesus for that, because now I enjoy reading. There would never be a moment in my teenage boy life where I'd be particularly standing in front of anybody and doing what I least liked in the world, demonstrating my inability to read. But that's just my starting off the praising Jesus for that, because I actually I don't mind reading, and I learned it from liking to read in front of my children, and so you guys help too. Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the reign of King Herod. About that time, some wise men from the eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." King Herod was deeply disturbed when he heard this. He was deeply disturbed as everyone in Jerusalem. He called a meeting of the leading priests and teachers of religious law and asked, "Where is the Messiah supposed to be born?" "In Bethlehem, in Judea," they said, "for this is what the prophet wrote. And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are not least among the ruling cities of Judah. For a ruler will come from you, who will be the shepherd for my people Israel." Then Herod called for a private meeting with the wise men and he learned from them the time the star first appeared. He told them, "Go to Bethlehem and search carefully for the child. And when you find him, come back and tell me so that I can go worship him too." I'm going to use a word my wife just said today. Sounds sus. Sus, right? Right? It's sus. It's accurate. I don't think he has kind motivations. After this interview, the wise men went their way, and the star they had seen in the east guided them to Bethlehem. It went ahead of them and stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. They entered the house and saw the child with his mother, with the child's mother, Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. They then opened their treasure chests and gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And when it was time to leave, they returned to their own country by another route, for God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. After the wise men were gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up, flee to Egypt with the child and his mother." And the angel said, "Stay there until I tell you to return, because Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." The night Joseph left for Egypt with the child and that night Joseph left for Egypt with the child and Mary his mother, and they stayed there until Herod's death. This fulfilled what the Lord spoke through the prophet, "I called my son out of Egypt." Herod was furious when he realized that the wise men had outwitted him. He sent soldiers to kill all the boys in and around Bethlehem who were 2 years old and under, based on the wise men's report of the first star's appearance. Herod's brutal action fulfilled what God spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. A cry is heard in Ramah, weeping and great mourning. Rachel weeps for her children, refusing to be comforted for her. They are dead. When Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream, and When Herod died, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt. "Get up," the angel said. "Take the child and his mother back to the land of Israel, because those who were trying to kill the child are dead." So Joseph got up. He returned to the land of Israel with Jesus and his mother. But when he learned that the new ruler of Judea was Herod's son, Archelaus, the only reason I know that is because I always hit that app, by the way, the Bible app, reads to you exactly. And you know how, and then you hit play, and you can say words like Archelaus. He was afraid to go there. Then after being warned in the dream, he left for the region of Galilee. So the family went and lived in a town called Nazareth. This fulfilled what the prophet said, "He will be called a Nazarene." So that's a lot of reading for a guy that doesn't like to read. But I started reading this, and maybe before I started thinking about some. Well, actually, when I was in the middle of it, it made me think about when I was a kid, and made me think about you guys too. And in particular, Joseph. Whenever Joseph was told to do something, he did it. And it was in the middle of trials. And I can remember something when I was a kid. My dad was very abusive. Very abusive. And the neighbors saw it. And he worked us very, very hard. And I know it sounds like I went up the hill. I went to school uphill both ways, but we literally chopped trees all day long. For my birthday gift, I got a 20-pound sledgehammer to break rocks. And my brother had a drill. He would hold the drill, and I would hit it with the sledgehammer. He'd turn it, and we'd turn it, and turn it. We'd take rocks that were the size of my truck and split them. And my neighbors, we would do this in the heat. And my neighbors one time, when I was for those who don't know, when I was a 10-year-old boy, little boy, I used to watch, nobody in my family did, I watched Jimmy Swaggart on TV. I used to watch the televangelist. And he had an appeal for, at the end of the message, for those of you who believe that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, I want you out there. I remember almost vividly. He's like, you out there in TV land. He was a pretty flamboyant dude. He said, I want you to kneel at your couch and pray, and the sinner's prayer. And I accepted Jesus as a 10-year-old boy that day. And I know, despite the fact that my father was that abusive, there was moments in my life where I felt protected. And so my brother and I are doing these stupid chores, and not only chores, they were just like chain gang stuff. And my dad used to like loaning us out like a crescent wrench, because he was proud that my brother and I would work hard, and we would work hard. If the Buzzes called me over, I would be busting my hump to work for the Buzzes just because I could be at the Buzzes' house and not be home. No offense to the Buzzes, but that I realized after I said that, David, that didn't sound very good. But that's why I would be happy to be loaned out, right? So my neighbor comes up to my dad and he says, Gary, that's his name. He says, Gary, he says, I need your kids for a couple hours. And he's like, sure, no problem. He says, but let me know if they're going to be a bunch of bleep holes. And so he was an abusive man. He regularly abused his family too. And sort of like my brother, like, oh crap, what's this going to be this time? He opened up his gate. He said, go to swim on my pool. He said, and we stayed in his pool and we swam in his pool all day long that day. And my dad heard us playing, and we're like, I remember this movie. And back in the day, and it was a guy about being in prison, and he was like, he didn't want to be too happy, he didn't want to make too much noise. Everything was really quiet, and that's exactly what my brother and I were doing. We were trying to laugh quietly. We were trying to swim without splashing, but we were just in the pool. It was a moment. It was a moment in my life where I know it was God, where I was at a breaking point as a teenage boy, where I couldn't. It was over 100 degrees, and we're swinging this 20-pound. We were soaking wet. And I often thought about, so that made me think about, that's just one of the many times I was actually, I used to say lucky, and my buddy would say, no, it's not luck, you were blessed. And he's right, blessed through God in a time of difficulty. And you guys don't have to speak up, but if you want to speak up, I'm curious if there's ever a moment when you're out, when you were not here, when we were in our struggles of just trying to be alive, if there was ever a moment that you went, oh, something good happened. It may be a moment where you felt love, or you felt like it was just a break from the world that was attacking you. And this thing, oh, it's back. The moment that was the world was attacking you, and so if you guys ever have that, I would feel like sharing that now. I wouldn't mind hearing some of it, but if you don't, or if you don't feel like comfortable sharing it, I wouldn't mind hearing it after the service if you guys want to share with me, because I know it's a blessing for people to hear stuff like that. And I'll move on, but if you just raise your hands if you want to, or if you don't, like I say, come talk to me after the service. So anyhow, we're going on. King Herod was a psychopath, to put it mildly. When he came into power, he killed 300 of his counselors. He killed his wife. He killed his mother-in-law. He killed his oldest son and 2 other sons. I don't know how many kids this man had. He killed them all because he felt they were a threat to his power. And so you can imagine how he felt when he heard that there was a king, the king of the Jews, a newborn king of the Jews, and how threatened he was. And actually, I was doing this Bible study, and it was funny. It was I know, it's kind of a weird segue, but in right here in the beginning it says the wise men followed the star, and they went to Jerusalem. In the study I was reading, it says, well, the shepherds went straight to Bethlehem. That these wise men, got lost and went to the wrong town. But it had to happen because everything sets in motion for Jesus and for what the prophets had said. And it says in verse 3, it says King Herod was deeply disturbed. The reason he was deeply disturbed is, like I said, there's a king. There's a possible challenge to who I am, a possible challenge to my prayers. And like I said, as my wife sus, right? He says the Messiah is supposed to be, where is the Messiah supposed to be born? And you can joke about it, but the man was a psychopath. And I guess a couple of months ago, my wife and I were in this museum, and they had these statues of all these different Caesars or Roman rulers. And they put a little thing about all what these men had done and to get to where they were, and who they killed, and how they were drunk with power. And it says, but the other thing that caught me too is in verse 5 here, is the Jewish people that Herod asked he asked the leading priests and teachers of the religious law. They also are called scribes, and they right away knew what the prophecy was going to be. That's the part I never clued in until today. They clued in that these Jewish people knew, oh, you land of Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, you are not among the least. They knew exactly what the prophet was saying about them, about Jesus, about the Savior coming. And a lot of them just rejected Jesus wholly. That's the part that blew me away. Like, for real, I was like, what the heck? And then if I can just skip ahead to verse 12. It was sorry, I got mixed up. That's what it was. Sorry, verse 12. It says, and it was time to leave. The protection that God put over the wise men, and then later Joseph, and I truly hope that we have a relationship to our sobriety, and we know that's not the place to go. Like I've been seeing on Facebook, you fellas who have graduated from Hillen and have gone and done your steps. I truly pray, that you hear that voice when there's a challenge or when there's a difficulty. That for real. It says, when it was time to leave and return to their own country they returned to their own country by another route, because God had warned them in a dream. I pray that all of us have that dream, that when we're upset or challenged, when we go to bed that night and we feel like this sucks, you know what? I want to pick up. I want to drink. What's the point? That somehow, some way, God touches you in that dream, touches you when you closes your eyes, or just takes you're obedient, and not only do you hear it, but you're obedient. Verse 13. This is the part that I admire so much about Joseph. an angel of the Lord appeared and said, get up. There was no question. He didn't say, well, maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm in the middle of my falafel right now. I don't want to go. He said, flee and get up. And he took his child. He just got up and left. He was obedient. That's what we have to be to remain sober. To remain sober. To remain just healthy. To remain on the right side of the dirt. Because too many of us aren't on the right side of the dirt because they didn't listen. Because they got they get up and flee. Run. Get out of the way. If there's a threat to your sobriety, if there's a threat to somebody to dividing you from your loved ones, get up and flee. Run. Run. Who cares what anybody's saying? Get up. My friend Jeremiah, who he's tired of hanging around the people that are dragging him down. He's tired of the people that hey, Jeremiah, you got a couple bucks? Let's go get drunk. That's not they don't care about Jeremiah. They care about fulfilling their needs. Run, gentlemen and ladies. I don't know why I said gentlemen and ladies, but you know what I mean. Verse 14. That night, Joseph left. He left. Verse 16. Herod was furious. He realized that the wise men had outwitted him. And this is the part, and he sent soldiers to kill all the boys. And this is the part I'm trying not to get emotional about. He sent soldiers to kill all the boys in and around Bethlehem. What is Satan going to do to kill you and separate you from your family, from those who love you? Kill you personally from the inside, from your heart. And heart, nice. Don't follow biology with me. From your heart and your head. It's the first thing that came to me. He sent the soldiers, but you know who else is sending the soldiers? He's called the Prince of Darkness. When Herod died, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in Egypt. Get up. There was no hesitation. Take the child. He got up. Verse 21. So Joseph got up. Somebody comes to you with a drink and you're sober. You're in your, thank God, each and every person is here in this building right now, as opposed to where you were before. 2 days ago, over 130 days ago. Thank God you're here. And for the rest of your life, get up and just go away from that situation. Get up and leave. No hesitation. Be the Joseph that you need to be for your sobriety. There is no doubt in Joseph's obedience. And I hope for each and every one of us that there is no doubt where your allegiance lies. It should not be with me. It should not be with the man or the woman you're sitting beside. What's going to make you the better man or woman is your allegiance to God, your ear, your heart listening to the Holy Spirit. Get up and go. Leave. I'm 55 years old. There's a whole pile of roads that I could have gone down, that we all can go down, that we all could have gone down that didn't end up here right now in this moment, that could have taken us to self-destruction. Joseph got up and took care of his child and his wife, and he listened. I'm asking you to get up and listen and go and never look back. Never look back. He left the region where there was trouble. We need to leave the region where there's trouble, where there's temptations, and hold on. Hold on with all hope of life in every breath that we have. Get up. That's what he says. He got up. Go away, run away. And I know this isn't the baby Jesus story, but it makes me think about how obedient Joseph was and how we need to be in our life, and I'm not the guy that preaches about success, but to be successful in your sobriety, and to be successful in your life, and to just be honest to God, sitting here as miracles right now, over 100 days, over 2 days, over a day, 10 days, 20 days. That is the miracle. To some of us, if somebody ever says to you, that's not a miracle, run, get away, leave it alone. You, I'm telling you right now, are a miracle. Your sobriety is a miracle. Your graduation's a miracle. Every one of you that was up on that stage and had talked about your graduation, the lives that you had before, and the lives that you can have from that are ahead of you, are going to be nothing short of a miracle. I truly believe that. Now, if the band wants to come up, that's pretty much all I got to say, really.